Hello, thank you for joining us today. The assessment team is presenting all things MAP testing for fall 2020. This is the parent edition. We will be covering the following items listed today to help you understand all things MAP testing and how to support your scholar for a successful virtual testing session. The items are as follows. Fall MAP dates, required fall MAP tests by grade level, allowable and unallowable items during testing, accommodations, oral administration, starting scholars test session, paused or suspension of scholars test, supporting your scholar during testing, tips for MAP testing at home, and tech support. These are the dates for fall MAP testing and required tests for the network. Primary and middle school campuses will start on Monday, August 31st. Your campus will provide you with a testing schedule and more information on which tests will be taken on certain dates. High school will be administering the math and science test on Wednesday, September 2nd during the AM. On Thursday, September 3rd, during the AM classes, high school will be administering the reading test. Your scholar's campus will communicate any changes that are made to the schedule if it occurs. Again, specific details regarding the testing will be shared by your scholar's campus. This is the list of required tests by grade level. As you know from the previous slide, that MAP offers language usage. This is an optional test for this year. Your scholar's campus may choose to administer other tests apart from these listed. However, required tests must be administered to all scholars first. All scholars returning and new will be required to take the required tests this fall. This is different from years past. Our previous norm is to test, for the most part, new to district scholars in the fall. Since we missed some important assessments in the spring of 2020, all K through 10th grade scholars will be required to take these tests listed. These tests will give us an indication of where students are at academically and how to fill in gaps. Pay attention to your scholar and ensure they are testing without support so that we can get a true measurement of where they are academically and be able to provide the support in areas that are needed. Scholars are not allowed to use reference sheets and anchor charts. They can use scratch paper and dictionaries for reading and language usage only, and are allowed to use supplemental aids and or math manipulatives if it has been approved through a special population committee, and calculators are not, external calculators are not allowed during testing. As far as accommodations are concerned, some scholars in grades 2 through 10 will receive the following based on decisions made by an art committee. Text-to-speech, which means the computer reads the test out loud to the scholar. However, keep in mind that all K through 1st graders tests will read to the scholar. Supplemental aids, which are graphs and diagrams that may be helpful for your scholar during learning and testing. Math manipulatives, which are concrete objects that allow students to explore an idea in an active, hands-on approach. Manipulatives can be almost anything. For example, blocks, shapes, spinners, or even paper that is cut or folded. Campus personnel should be in touch with you concerning these accommodations listed, specifically for your scholar. Please contact your scholar's campus and or teacher if you feel that your scholar should be receiving any of these accommodations on the test, and if they have not contacted you by Wednesday, August 26th. If your scholar receives oral accommodations for major assessments such as STAR, they will be receiving text-to-speech for MAP testing. As mentioned in the previous slide, This means that the computer will read the test out loud to your scholar. However, keep in mind that all kinder through first grade scholars will receive text-to-speech. Another important fact to know is that for scholars receiving text-to-speech, reading and language usage passages will not be read to your scholar. Your scholar will be responsible for reading passages independently. Questions and answers will be read to your scholar for these subjects. For math and science, all questions and answers will be read to your scholar. Also, please keep in mind that your scholar may need headphones to cancel out any noise going on in the home. Before we begin to explore how to log your scholar into their NWEA MAP assessment, I want to make sure you are getting a good understanding of what will take place on the day of testing. Teachers will provide your scholar with a Zoom invite. Please be sure that your scholar is prompt and attends the Zoom meeting. Your scholar's teacher will guide your scholar on logging on to the website and signing on to take the test. Students will continue to stay on the Zoom call as they take the assessment virtually. Teachers will be there the entire time that is allotted for that test session to help guide your scholar. However, we will review what you can do at home to better support your scholar should your scholar need it. Essentially, your scholar will be running two platforms side by side, the Zoom meeting and NWEA for their test. So they can run it side by side, or they can switch from one to another as needed. The teacher will provide you and your scholar with instructions on how to log on to NWEA MAP and be there to support you through the process. This is how the login page will look like. You can click on the hyperlink to get to the login page for students, or you can type it in. Scholars will be prompted to enter the session name and password. Your scholar's teacher will provide you with the session name and the session password to type in. Remember that scholars will need to enter the session name and password exactly how it looks. NWEA is case sensitive. This means that the upper cases and the lower cases are important. They should type it in exactly the way they see it. After they enter the test session information, it will ask scholars to type in their name. After scholars type in a few letters of their name, the system will create a drop-down list of possible matches. Scholars can select their name from the list, but need to be careful not to select someone else's name. This is the next screen scholars will see after selecting their name. If your scholar does not see their name listed, they must tell their teacher. The teacher will help your scholar troubleshoot. If scholars select the wrong name, this screen will give them a chance to go back out of the test session and re-log into the system. They will have to start from the beginning to get to this point again. Please make sure scholars check for the accuracy of their name being displayed. If their birth date and grade level do not match to theirs, have your scholar let the teacher know. Your teacher will prompt you and your scholar with what to do next. If everything is accurate, your scholar may choose yes. Once your scholar's teacher has read the directions and questions and answered questions, the teacher will click the confirm button on their end, and the start test button will show up on your scholar's screen, and they can begin testing. Scholars will not be able to begin testing until the teacher selects the confirm button. Picture on the right shows the scholar's screen when their test has been confirmed. This is what the scholar will see on their computer when the teacher pauses or suspends their test. The left side is an example of a paused test. A test will need to be paused if and when a scholar needs to go to the restroom. There is nothing for the scholar to click on. They will have to wait for the teacher to resume the test in order to complete their test. They may need to let their teacher know that they are ready to begin the test in order to prompt the teacher to resume the test. The right side is when the teacher has suspended a scholar's test. When scholars click on the blue OK button, it will take them back to the login screen. A test will need to be suspended if the scholar has not completed the test within the time frame allotted or may have become ill during the test. When a test is paused or suspended, the scholar can return at a later date and time to complete their test. The test will begin where they left off. If a scholar is rapidly guessing through the test, it will pause the scholar's test and will require an action on the teacher's part for the scholar to keep testing. It will show on the map screen of the proctor screen that the scholar has been paused because they are rapidly guessing. The proctor will have to resume their test when this happens and may ask the scholar to stop testing for the day and have them continue testing on a designated makeup date. Please have a conversation with your scholar prior to testing about rapid guessing and encourage them to do their best on their assessments. Proctors will actively monitor virtually through Zoom while scholars are testing. We are asking that you make sure that no one at home is helping your scholar answer questions on the test. That scholars not use electronic devices except for the computer that they're using for testing. Encourage scholars to stay on task and to make sure scholars are not attempting to use electronic devices to look up items to answer questions. Kinder through first grade scholars may need help when clicking, dragging, and dropping of items in the test. It is okay to help your scholar with these things as long as they are answering questions without your assistance. NWEA has a practice test available for your scholar to practice controlling the mouse, clicking, and dragging items. Type in the URL and help your scholar navigate through the test for practice. The URL is practice.mapnwea.org. The username and password is GROW. Teachers will have a touch point with you as parents to provide you with information you will need for testing. MAP assessments are untimed, but most scholars finish within an hour to an hour and a half. Once a scholar answers a question, they cannot go back to review or change it. If a scholar does not complete their MAP test in the allotted time, or if they are absent on the day of testing, teachers will give you information for makeup testing. While your scholar is testing, it is best to not watch streaming TV as it will slow your internet service down at your household, and your student may potentially get kicked out of their testing session. Feel free to reach out to your scholar's teacher for all questions regarding technology, assessments, and/or systems. Each campus is unique and will be able to help you with your scholar's needs. Remember, your scholar's teacher will be present during the duration of the testing session, should you or your scholar need any technical help during testing. Be sure to view all parent resources on our parent webpage. These documents can potentially be of help on the day of testing. You can access these documents by visiting the following folder: bit.ly/parent-map-resources. The Family Guide to Map Growth. This document explains the test and data. You will also see the Family Remote Testing Guidelines. This document will help you prepare for your child to take the MAP growth test. And another item titled the Remote Testing Troubleshooting. This document will help you troubleshoot through some of the things that you may be going through that day. And lastly, the test session sign-in. This document gives you step-by-step procedures to help your scholars sign into MAP testing on their scheduled day. We would just like to thank you so much for spending some time with us. If you have any questions, please reach out to your Scholars Campus and or teachers. Have a great day.